Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host Swamp Swimmer, and with me today, the #1 old world player in Astoria, Queens. Greg, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Great, thanks for having me.
Greg and I, Greg was gracious enough to invite me over to his home, and we got a game in. Super fun. But before we get to the battle report, Greg, tell me your Warhammer story. When did you start? Which army did you play? Which edition did you start in? And what's your favorite army? What's your jam?
Yeah, my Warhammer story is pretty short actually, because I began about 1 to 2 weeks after Old World launched. My first Warhammer game.
A newbie.
A newbie. I feel like Old World's bringing in a lot of new players. I meet a lot of people like me. But yeah, I got into it essentially through X-Wing. I wanted a little bit more from a tabletop game and started looking into Warhammer Fantasy. Learned that Old World was coming out, and it ended up being a good time to jump in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You're right. Definitely, I think the majority of Old World players are Warhammer players from previous edition coming back to the game, but there is a certain contingent of players like you that are starting the game for the first time in the Old World, which is really fun and interesting.
Yeah, it's been great. And, I play High Elves.
Yes.
I didn't know what army to play when I first got into it, so I knew I wanted to play Dragons, and I wanted to play Magic, and everyone suggested High Elves.
That makes perfect sense. High Elves and Dragons go hand in hand like spaghetti and meatballs.
In your hands.
Cool. Well, a great introduction. Let's just jump into the battle report.
Okay.
All right. So as I said, we were at Greg's house, which thank you so much. You were a great host. We were playing 2,000 points. Wait, are you going to Las Vegas Open also?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. Okay. There's a decent sized contingent of players going to the Las Vegas Open from New York City, which is really exciting. We're gonna have a crew there. If anyone's on the Best Coast pairings board and you see that the team names, we are all coming under East Coast Warriors. That's our team name. We're gonna have a good time. But we played 2,000 points, command and control scenario, which I've never played actually before, so this is exciting. I brought the Beastmen, Greg brought the High Elves. It's good times. I'm gonna jump into my list really quickly. So this is not a big, no, this is a big change from the previous list. If you're interested in my previous battle report, please click the link right above my head. It'll take you to the battle report I did with Eggy. But this one, I stuck with the 2 level 4 wizards, stuck with the BSB on the chariot. I went MSU, so 2 piggies in core, 3 chariots, and the gore unit with the wizards inside of it. 2 just bare bones 3 minotaur units, 2 times 3 minotaurs with great weapons, and then a dragon ogre shaggoth and a gorgon. And I think I've decided that I like having the 2 monsters, one being the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, which is just like an all-around good model, all-around good monster. And then I also like having the Gorgon because, I feel like every army needs some monstrous killing blow or regular killing blow, and the Gorgon has that. And even if you don't get to use it in the game, at least it's there to threaten killing blow against your opponent. I think that's the key. Yeah, so that's my army. Not big changes. You can see the picture scrolling by with my models. Let's jump into Greg's list. How about that? All right, Greg, go through your list. Actually, no, first let's talk about your models. You said so basically you've gotten these models within the last year, and you've painted a few of them. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so all but the 2 very colorful cavalry were bought pre-painted. I painted the more colorful ones. Part of me getting into Old World was that I didn't want to put a lot of time into painting. When I heard about slap chop painting, that's when I decided that maybe I'll do this. It's not too time consuming. So the Seaguard are painted using slap chop, as is the dragon. and the wizard.
Yeah. I like
But
the color
after
scheme. I
doing
really
this-
like the light purple color scheme. I think it really pops on high elves.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. But after doing the slap shop, now I'm getting more into this. I want to improve my painting skills, so I plan on doing something different for the next army I get into, which is going to be Tomb Kings.
Nice, Tomb Kings. That's really exciting. Do you have any idea of what the color scheme is going to be for the Tomb Kings?
I do. It's going to be a bit ridiculous. I'm doing all neon for the Tomb Kings,
Yes.
with color changing metallics.
That's going to be sick. I can't wait to see that. So yeah, bring me through your list. This is a pretty straight to the point list. I'm gonna give you that. It's pretty clear cut what you're doing. But go through it for me.
Yeah, like I said, it's straight to the point. Unfortunately, I'm not too happy with how a lot of the high elf units are. They're not so great, especially with 3 toughness across the board.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to focus on the stronger units. It's clear that dragons are the center of a high elf army, and that the units come second, right? So
it's very true.
yeah, so obviously I have my Prince on Dragon. I'm trying to keep him alive, so we're keeping him with an Armor of Destiny, a one-handed weapon being a lance, and a Seed of Regeneration. Because the dragon's the real weapon, right? The Prince doesn't do that much.
Yeah.
So the goal there is obviously just to have the dragon tank whatever it can. Then I went with the Sea Guard. As you can tell, it's the entire core is 1 unit.
Yeah.
They're using a obsidian lodestone to get some magic resistance because I was having some issues with that. And because they're the only decent core unit, and obviously I have to take a core unit, I'm throwing the BSB in there with the battle standard to give a D3 combat results, and also the Archmage to try to get Walk Between Worlds off, so I have an ethereal unit that's getting a stand and shoot reaction at any range, plus at least 20 attacks off. It's going to be 38 LVL to try to keep them alive and relevant.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're really going for that bunker move, which it's like if you get that one magic spell off, if you get Walk Between Worlds off, it can be just so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and in most games I get it off about 70% of the time because I have the high elf reroll.
Yeah.
In our game it didn't work out like that. I kept rolling 3s no matter what I did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But, yeah, but then also I went with the Dragon Princes. They're an amazing unit with the 2 armor and the drilled. But unfortunately, they're essentially the only non-core unit that's viable aside from Sisters, and I wasn't going to go for shooting in this game.
Yeah. No. I think, and that's the thing. That's the crazy thing. You have what 1, 2, 3, 4 total drops.
Yeah. Yeah. And before this, I was going with a huge unit of Dragon Princes with the Battle Banner and the War Banner to try to get a huge combat res, do something like 12 units of the Dragon Princes, and it was doing great. But since LVO is focusing on infantry, I'm shifting it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think okay. So lists are not due yet. Lists are actually due as we're filming this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would consider you. So you were doing like a Dragon Prince one big unit and all the combat res with the Dragon Princes.
Yeah. That way there'd be obviously the BSB in there. And then sometimes I'll try it out with the having them be ethereal with the reserve move. That doesn't seem to be too necessary, but it's also pretty helpful just to have them not take damage. So
yeah, that's an interesting concept too. It's a hard choice between doing it between the Sea Guard and the Dragon Princes. I don't know. You should.
Yeah, but the issue is that people avoid the Sea Guard unit. It's hard to position them. They see this huge 1,000-point unit that's going to destroy them. They don't want anything to do with it. But if I have a 1,200-point unit of Dragon Princes, I can just get it in the face of whatever I want it to be in.
Yeah, and that 2-up armor save is really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see. It's undecided, but we'll see what you bring to Las Vegas Open. Let's see here. Let's just jump into the game. Here we go. So, deployment, as we all know, is probably the most important portion of this game, in my opinion. And you only have 4 drops, so essentially I dropped some chaff pieces, and then you dropped everything, and then kind of I responded to you. Let me know what you were thinking with your setup here, with basically the Sea Guard on the far right with your characters, the dragon in the middle, the star dragon, and then 2 units of dragon princes to the left. What was your thought process there?
Yeah, well, I think this is really where my inexperience with the game kind of showed. I was a bit intimidated by having the tower right in the center.
Yeah, it changes your deployment. It changes everything with that impassable piece right in the middle.
Yeah, it's real hard, especially when your core unit's a shooty unit, right? So I wanted to put them, generally I put them right in the center. That way I'd have Drain Magic Bubble with the Magic Resist unit right there. But I instead put them too far over to the side, thinking that hopefully it would force you to reposition a bit. But instead you did the smart thing, and you stayed away from the giant unit, and you positioned on the other side.
And then my thought process when I responded, which is like, as you can see, and I'm heavily favored to the left-hand side, it was, if I go to the right and try to face down that big block, I could probably take you. Like, I've got enough units and stuff to do it, but those dragon princes are going to scream across the table and then make it into my flank. If I go toe-to-toe with the dragon princes, that big block is going to take numerous turns to get across the board. So that was my thought process, and I think you're right. Even though I think you should have placed them right in the middle of the board anyway, and then you can decide at that point to maneuver them to the left or right of that centerpiece.
That's exactly what I should have done. Is I should have done that and then relied on the reserve move to be able to go left or right 5 inches in the turn. But then I tried to counter by having the dragon princes on the other side of the board, thinking that I'd be able to either bring them into the flank when you went after the larger units, or that I'd be able to force you to position. But I wasn't expecting you to put 98% of your troops on the other side, which would then bring us into turn 1.
Well, yeah, let's go to turn 1. Yeah, this is your first move, and I think you noticed that right after deployment, and you went, you took those 2 dragon princes units, which are drilled, so they can go 2 wide and then march how far? Like 24 inches?
Yeah, 24. So it's easy to reposition them. Within 1 turn, I had them on the other side of the table. But then I started being too aggressive after that, which was to my detriment.
You ran both of those Dragon Prince units on the other side of the impassable piece, which I thought was a good move. It threw me for a loop, but you put your Star Dragon out there. There's no charges that I'm really threatening you with, but I am within that 27-inch threat range for my double Vile Tide.
Yeah, and that's huge. You told me you were playing Vile Tide spam, but again, because of my inexperience, I don't really understand what a lot of people are saying when they say I'm doing this or that. So I was like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll deal with it. I'll just counter it. But obviously that didn't work out. You Vile Tide at the dragon with four Vile Tides. It's like 2 turns of Vile Tides.
I have two Vile Tides, but they're strong. They're still just so strong.
Yeah.
And I think your thought process here was good to throw your entire army back to where, and that's the joy of using these Dragon Princes or any unit, any cavalry unit with drilled. You can really just flip the script of the deployment. You can move your units right across the table. It's just the one thing is you put the dragon too close to my Vile Tides, and also just positioning him like I was. Let me jump to my movement in the bottom of 1. You can see here. You can see the arc on your dragon. I could put a bunch of units outside your arc. If you would have faced them just a little more forward or facing towards the left of the table, I couldn't have done what I did. Because then you still threaten to charge my wizards unit with the skirmishers, and that's basically what I can't allow. That's my whole army is that 1 unit with the 2 wizards in it. So you had the right thought process. It was just the execution wasn't quite there. It was just like this game is a game of just degrees of an angle or inches. That's the thing.
No, you're right. I was trying to hide the dragon, and it didn't even occur to me to hide it while angling it more towards the mass of your army. I was just happy with having it protected, which ended up not being protected because you just moved into the Vile Tide range with the Steed of Shadows.
Yeah. I walked up. I did, I think, 1 or 2 or 3 wounds. I did some sort of amount of wounds on the dragon the first round. Both the Vile Tides went off. I remember that. And then your turn 2, you continue this move around, and you you said screw it and went more aggressive with the dragon, and you went right in front of my wizard unit. Again, out of the charge arcs of my other models. But that's the other hard part with skirmishers, is I can just step around your arc like I did in the bottom of turn 2, which is right here. You can't charge me. I vile-tided you again. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. And that was another big error here, is I should have stayed back and been more defensive, letting you come to me. That way I can finally, hopefully get something into the charge or vile-tide unit. But really, what I really should have done here is try to invite more of a charge here. I should have placed my dragon in a place where you would have wanted to charge it. Because I want it in combat, right? So when you had your chariot and your boar in the back, I could have just placed it right in front of them, giving you a flank. That way, hopefully you would take it, and I wouldn't get vile-tided. But I felt safe doing it because that first round of vile-tide, I took 1 wound from like 45 hits on a vile-tide.
Yeah.
So
that's I think you have the ideal dragon to counter the vile-tide, because you have both a 4-up ward and a 5-up regen.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's like you cancel so much of the damage with those saves. So in a certain sense, like you were right to be aggressive with the dragon. And I don't think you necessarily want him to be in combat, but you want him to threaten. He has such a long charge range, 19 inches or whatever he is. Yeah, that's like such a threat that I cannot leave. If you get to a point where I can't get my wizard's unit out of your charge range or out of your arc, that's the move for you to go for, and that causes me so many problems.
Yeah, but that's also, I was relying so much on having a 10-inch movement with my Sea Guard to try to get you inside of my Dispel Magic bubble.
Yeah.
Once it didn't go off, then I ended up not marching like I should have.
Because
I couldn't do anything about it.
The first 2 turns you didn't get Walk Between Worlds off, which is devastating. And I only think you got off Drain Magic like once or twice, which is also devastating. And that's the double-edged sword of this game, is you can just roll bad dice and that stuff happens, which is crazy. Because really, if you got those Walk Between Worlds off, that big block would be like up in my face at this point with the dragon.
Yeah, and it would be helping to counter those vile-tides,
Yeah.
Giving you a -2 on it, plus, my level 4 there have been huge.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you, in your turn, again, I double vile-tide you down. I think I do get you down to like half strength on the dragon, something like that. Yeah. And you respond. Yeah, you charged over my minotaurs into either the chariot or one of the pigs or something, and you catch them, and you end up way over here on that hill.
Yeah, my thought process here was I wanted to charge your guy with the killing blow. Is it the Gorgon? But then I intimidated myself out of it. I should have gone for it, because it would have put me in a better position to do something later on in hindsight. Yeah. But the reason I took that long charge is because I thought that would get me out of your vile-tide range, and I'd be able to just overrun it and get away from you. But it didn't work out.
That's the trick of my army. Yeah, that's the trick of my army. It's the two vile-tides out of 1 unit, and I'm either casting Steed of Shadows or I'm casting Travel Mystical Pathways.
Yeah,
one of the two, and I have a 27-inch threat range with that. It's like it's really good. I think you brought up a good point. Charging the dragon into the Gorgon is not a horrible idea, because I only have a 6-up armor save, and you charging me means you have a possibility of killing me before I even swing. And even if I do swing, if I roll 1 or 2 6s, you have a chance of, with a 4-up ward and a 5-up regen. Oh no, I think no. The killing blow goes through regen. It's just a ward. So it's very risky. It's a 4-up chance on like 1 or 2 dice. Oh, yeah, that's a hard choice.
For you to get a 6 and then for me to have a coin flip with succeeding, it was probably, the odds were in my favor. I should have taken it.
Yeah, and also
I think either way, the goal there would be built for me to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
With my army's built, I have like it's really hard for you to get out of range. Besides just holding your dragon back the whole game, it's really hard for you to get your dragon out of the range of my double Vile Tide. Maybe taking that risk was worth it.
Yeah, what I should have done is realize that I just need to be in combat, right? I don't want to win the Gorgon fight. I want to lock in, you give ground, I follow up, or I kill it and I overrun into something and just get constantly locked in combat to stay away from Vile Tide. But it didn't work out for me.
That's a good thought process. I like that idea. Let's see here. And then, of course, I'm still within 27 inches here. I get Steed of Shadows off. I move over, and I get those last wounds off of the dragon. Whew. Also, this is the point where I chaff one of your... I chaff both of your Dragon Prince units.
Yeah.
You take one piece of the chaff, go over, and at this point I can just turn around again with my Vile Tide, and I end up just continuing to Vile Tide off your Dragon Princes. And unfortunately, Vile Tide is like the perfect combo for Dragon Princes. It's
Hold on.
horrible. And of course my Vile Tide just goes crazy. I get really lucky with my magic. And the game ends with I throw both my BSB and my Dragon Shagath into your Spearman unit. And of course you don't get Walk Between Worlds off, so they're not ethereal. At the end of turn 5, I win one round of combat, they go back, and that's the end of the game. We didn't go to turn 6 because that's one of the special rules for this deployment, the scenario, is at the end of turn 5, both of us roll a d6. If our combined score on both those d6s is 10 or more, we continue into turn 6. If it's not, the game stops. Which is, I think, is an interesting mechanic. I like it because, A, most of the time you're just going to be playing 5 turns, and that is, especially for tournament play, playing just 5 turns is really nice. It shortens the game just a little bit. And makes it variable. Makes it, there's a bit of excitement there. I like it. So what do you think?
I'm not too big of a fan of the 5-turn thing. You know, in tournament play, I prefer to have more of an even playing ground. So that someone who,
it's true.
You know, maybe you won because it's turn 5, but I would have won on turn 6. Not this game. You know, just hypothetically. Or it affects the game too much, and it can be a big advantage or disadvantage instead of having a level playing field.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. It favors the shooty list, the gun lines, because you don't get that last turn to finally get there. And yeah, as we kind of alluded to, it was a big win for me. The only thing I didn't break was your big main block with your characters and your Sea Guard. That was still a lot of points, but I didn't.
It was like 950 or something. But you know, you charge it with like 3 things, and I was happy about it. I said, "Oh, fine, they're going to be in combat." And like, I'm probably going to win the combat and get something on the flea. But then I used my power scroll. Didn't get the Walk Between Worlds off still with the power scroll. So that, you know, the dice just weren't in my favor, but that's all right. It was still a lot of fun.
It happens with this game. So we played this game. It was a big win for me. What do you think about your list? Are you going to change anything?
Yeah, I think I might. You know, like you were saying in the beginning of this bit, is just change back to the Dragon Prince as being the strong unit that just gets in the face and wipes everything out.
I think that's a really great idea because they're drilled. They can really just go anywhere on they want on the board. They can change form to what they need in that moment, including going deep with a bunch of ranks, which is really nice. You can get that static combat res. There are 2 up saves. It's just the one downside to either one of these options is there's just a lot of points in one unit. So you have to be super careful with it.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I was in the Dragon Prince unit. I had to give them the Bearded Cloak to give the Champion Terror. So I'm not sure how the rule works out with that and having to take a terror test. You know, if it prevents me from having to take the test or not. But it's still a lot of
terror
fun.
Terror causers are not affected by terror, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but it's not the unit doesn't have terror, just the champion has terror.
Oh.
So while you have to take a terror test when I charge, which is big, I think I'm still forced to take one when I'm charged.
if anyone watching this video, knows the answers to that, the rules answers to that, hit the comments. Hit me in the comments. We will find out for you, Greg. Yeah, it was still a fun game. We had a good time. I think we're gonna have such a good time at Las Vegas Open. I'm gonna play 6 games? No, it's 8 games. No, 6 games in the grand tournament, and then 2 or 3 on the doubles event.
Yeah, exactly. And
Greg and I are gonna be partners in the doubles event. Come if you're there at the LVO, come say hi to us. Could be exciting. Thank you for the game, Greg. I'm looking forward to your revised list. I do plan on doing a list review for the Las Vegas Open, and we can talk about our individual lists also once the lists have been locked and no one can change the list. Yeah, so that's it. Any parting words?
No, thanks for having me. Looking forward to starting this doubles list with you and seeing how we're going to do this. Hopefully, lots of magic and dragons.
Oh, you're right.
It'll be good.
That just blew my mind. We need to put together a doubles list. Is the deadline to submit the doubles list the same as the grand tournament on
as
tomorrow?
Far as I know, there's no best close pairings list yet or place to put a list.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything about it. So maybe we should look into it a little bit more.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're still watching, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, everyone.